Hi and welcome to this video where I've removed the EGR cooler, so some of the exhaust gases go through here, out there, onto this pipe and back into the inlet manifold. And on this we have two pipes that are also connected to the cooling system that help to cool the gases down before they go back into the inlet manifold. So I've removed that. I've then also removed the pipework from the fuel accumulator, which is located at the back of the engine, over to the front. And to remove those, I've had to remove part of the wiring for the injectors and the fuel return pipe back as well from the injectors. So basically I've cleared the top of the engine now. So I should be ready to either remove the inlet manifolds or remove the injectors. So that's where I'm up to so far in this video. So hopefully this video will be of use to you, and many thanks for watching. So I'll just show some overview photos of the top of the engine so we can actually see the injectors and the high pressure fuel pipes leading to those injectors, and also the wiring there and the pipework that removes the excess diesel back into the fuel tank. Right then, so while doing the other removal jobs, I've been gradually working away at that black lava flow. So I'm hoping that if I keep using this carburetor spray cleaner, I'm not using brake cleaner, this is a lot stronger, and I've been spraying this on sort of fairly regularly just to try and hopefully soften all that black tarry material, so that when I do come to remove the injectors, hopefully it will come out without too much hassle. So I'm going to use some of this Torque paper, which is fantastic stuff. It doesn't actually tear apart and dissolve like normal blue roll. This stuff actually, if you get it wet, stays together. So it's almost like a bit like a cloth. So I'll pop some of that in there, and then what I'll also do is just run a bit of tape over that. Although I'm going to be taking the cover off later on, it's still probably good practice just to make sure it's all sealed up so none of this sort of falls in there inadvertently. So as you can see, it's sort of going sticky with the carburetor cleaner being constantly applied. So hopefully it's gradually going to come off, because obviously I don't want any of that to fall into the cylinders when I come to remove those injectors. Okay then, we'll leave that to work away a bit. And now on to removing the EGR cooler. So we'll start off with a photo showing the exhaust gas recirculation valve, and that's to the right of the EGR cooler. And then if we add some labels here on the EGR cooler, we can actually see the coolant pipes that lead onto that, and also the pipe there going to the manifold. And also there in red is the support bracket. And a quick heads up on the cooler, if it's removed from the car, this is what it actually looks like. So you can see there's sort of like some tubes in the middle of that for the exhaust to go down, and an outer body that cools it. Okay then, so let's start by unclipping the metal clip there. So I'm going to use a Click-R hose clamp pliers. I'm not actually sure if these are the correct tool to use, but it did sort of ping them off. You might be able to do it with a pair of pliers. So that's one of those clips off. And then we've got another one on the other side there, leading to the pipe that goes to the inlet manifold. So that's the two metal spring clips off. I'll then just use a pair of Facom clip pliers to undo the spring clips there from the coolant pipes, and I'll just use some water pump pliers there just to get that rubber pipe broken free, like so. Otherwise you'll be pulling on it all day and it will never come off. Right, so some coolant may actually come out of that, which would be leading to the heater matrix, I presume, inside the cabin. Then we've got the other one there. So again, this one's a bit more awkward. I couldn't get those pliers in, so I'll use this hose clip tool, which is the laser one, which is quite useful because it sort of winds in and holds it so you can actually maneuver the clip off like so. I always put links to all these things underneath the description in the video, so if ever you need to try and get hold of some of these tools. Again, we just work that loose now, and I'm easing that off actually with some car panel tool there, and then it's a 10mm socket to carefully remove this single nut that's holding the EGR cooler in place. So try and make sure you don't lose that little nut there. There we go. I'll just show it there. Right, so we should better now just release the cooler from its location. Just unclip it from those two pipe ends. So I think sometimes these actually do get clogged up. There always used to be lots of problems with EGR valves getting sooty and causing some problems. Note also, you will have some coolant inside that, as you just found there as I turned it upside down. So here it is. Here's the EGR cooler. So we have got some soot in there, so I will give this a bit of a clean out. There's the spring clips on the ends. Right then, so now to removing the EGR cooler pipe to the inlet manifold. So this is just two screws, a Torx 30 to undo these. They're like self-tapping screws because they're obviously going into plastic. Right then, so you've just got to wiggle this off. There is a rubber seal in there, an O-ring. So gradually wiggle that around. And then you will notice that the soot there, so it's almost choked up, that is. It's getting quite narrow, that. You can imagine what's inside the inlet manifold. Right then, so we'll now remove the EGR cooler bracket. Okay, so for this we need an 8mm socket, and just tucked under there is a single screw. Always tend to say bolt, but I think technically they are screws. Oh, and it's under the car now. So we'll go try and fish that back. Try and show you what it looks like. So there it is. And that's 8mm. We'll put it there so it falls off again. So you do need to unclip the wiring there to the glow plugs. And then very carefully we can pull the bracket free. So that's what that looks like. Like that. Right then, so let's start some cleaning of the EGR cooler and the pipe. So let's see what we've got. So I'm going to be using the carburetor spray cleaner again. I'll just show you how the bracket fixes on because you can't really see that very easily. So that's the 8mm screw and the 10mm nut. So I'm just going to use a trim tool here just to try and carve some of the carbon off this pipe. That was actually nearly blocked by the look of it. But the car has done about 130,000 miles, so I suppose that's understandable. I'm giving that a good little clean in there, hopefully loosen it all up. And those down the pipes there, down those little tubes. Give that a little shake around. So you might be worth wearing a pair of eye glasses or something here, because I flicked that into my face, which with carburetor cleaner on isn't the best thing you want in your eye. So we'll now do the health and safety. Right, so we can clean away now. So that's looking a little bit better there. So there is a rubber seal on there, probably better to not actually get carburetor cleaner on that because of the rubber. But there we are, that's looking a bit better now. So I think what I'll also do is probably spray a bit of compressed air down those little tubes that will hopefully blow any debris out. So I'm wearing earmuffs there as well, because obviously compressed air in tubes can be quite loud. So at least when this all goes back on the car, it should all be lovely and clean, and hopefully we'll never need doing again. It's assuming we actually get the engine to run properly. So it wasn't too dirty, but there we go. Right now, so removing the rigid fuel pipes. So here's some photos showing the fuel accumulator rail and the high pressure fuel pump. And there's also a pressure sensor there on the end of that common rail, as they often call. So that's the numbering system for the pipes. But that will actually be back to front on a Peugeot. I think Mini actually put it the conventional way, but on a Peugeot it would be the opposite way. And here we can actually see the glow plugs and the wires going to those glow plugs. Right then, so we start off by pulling the little spring clips from the injectors. So these pipes on the top are the return fuel, which I think goes back into the tank. So the excess fuel there. So this should be low pressure. Now removing these is actually quite a awkward job, or fiddly job. Those obviously can be lost if you used a pair of, used a screwdriver and pinged them off somewhere, so be careful of that. Now these are very tricky because you don't want to break that plastic, and it could well be brittle from the heat of the engine and the age. So what I found was, if you can just get it up slightly and you can get a small screwdriver just underneath that lip there, you can then just sort of push it up like so. Obviously you are going to put some damage onto the plastic. I mean, the seal is the part that's important there, and presumably you are supposed to replace those seals anyway. So we'll show again on here. So once you can see a slight gap, you can sort of get that screwdriver under there. I didn't really want to pull on it from above too much, just in case I broke the pipes or leading onto these joints. So I wanted to sort of lever them out as opposed to pulling them out. So I tried a trim tool. That sort of seemed like the most sensible way. It did sort of work, but I don't think it was any better than using the screwdriver. So I went back to the old screwdriver. I wonder if there's actually a special tool for this. Might be worth getting, just to make life a little bit easier. So again, I've gone back to the trim tool there just to try and spread the load around that. And there we are. So that's those all off. So going on to the electrical connectors now. So these aren't so bad. So basically just push down slightly and then unclip the little clip there. And they've got a little rubber seal inside to prevent any water ingress into the connector. That's that one off. So then we're going to cylinder number 2, or cylinder number 3 if it was a Peugeot. So yeah, Peugeot, I believe, number the cylinders as number 1 at the gearbox or the flywheel end, which is quite unconventional. I do believe MINI turned that back round the other way, so that number 1 cylinder was at the timing belt end. Something to check if ever you need to establish which is cylinder number 1, just to make life a little bit difficult. Okay, so that's all our connections off now. So what we now need is a 10mm socket, and just remove the 3 screws on the top, which contains the wiring loom to the injectors. So they're all the same length. I always try and check how long the screws are, because you never know in case one's a little bit shorter than the others. So as you can see there, they're all the same length. Okay, and then we can just carefully fold this towards the back of the car. Now there is a clip or a connector on the left hand side, so you might need to just try and pop that off. And then what I did was use a spring clip just to hold that in position out of the way. Right, so that's now completely clear. So we can see the rigid high pressure fuel pipes there going to the injectors. So again, I'll just tuck those out of the way. Knowing me, I'll try and reuse the seals that are already on it, which you shouldn't do, to try and save costs. Right then, so now I'll just pop this bracket off here. So this is the hand priming bulb, which is actually quite conveniently located on the top of the engine. So that's quite rigid, so you can't really push that too far. And then just clip the bracket off. There's a couple of little clips there, and then off that comes, like so. Okay, so we're getting towards the removing the rigid pipes now. So I'm just going to number these pipes the conventional way, with number 1 at the timing belt. So that's number 4. So I'm just going to pop some eye protection on, just in case there is still some residual pressure there in the fuel accumulator. So for this, it's a 17mm spanner to undo the 4 unions, and try not to make the mistake I did, which was I undid the main one from the fuel pump to the accumulator, thinking that was number 1, and it wasn't. So I've put a little picture down there so you can actually see, so you don't make that same mistake. Obviously I had to then go back and undo the union for cylinder number 4, because it wasn't actually undone. So again, I'll just number these. Now technically you are supposed to replace these pipes. Peugeot do say that once you've disturbed them, they should be replaced with new ones. So for these unions, it's actually a 14mm spanner, or you could use a difficult access socket like I'm going to, or possibly a crow's foot spanner. So I thought they might actually be quite tight. They're not really, so a normal spanner will actually undo these probably quite easily. So I suppose coming to tighten them up might be the issue. Not quite sure how tight they're supposed to be. Have to look that up. But like I say, technically they do say you should replace these pipes, because I suppose they will have conformed slightly, and then when you refit them there might be a slight gap, and obviously I suppose diesel under high pressure could be a bit disastrous if it started to spray a fine mist over a hot exhaust. That could be quite dangerous. Obviously I will be reusing these pipes, hopefully, to minimise costs. Right then, so let's undo that last one which I forgot or missed. which is number 4. Okay, so they're all loose now. So I've just pulled one of the wires off the glow plugs there for cylinder number 4, just so you can actually get a better look down there. And it should be a case of just lift these up now, like so. So that's number 3 and 4 there. I mean, some people actually do try and just bend them out of the way to get to the injector, but being that they're high pressure, it's probably best not to bend them if you can avoid it. And then that's the pipes to cylinder 1 and 2. I'm not sure actually how much new pipes would be, but there we are. So it might be wise actually then just to put some sort of little covers over all these ports now, because we've got 12 open ports. And obviously, if we get any dirt in there, definitely don't want anything going into the injectors. That definitely could cause havoc. I presume there must be some sort of filter inside. And then again, I'm just going to pop some caps on here. These are old caps off air filter pipes. Not air filter, air compressor pipes. So I think when I bought the whips for the tools, they all come with a little cap on. So they just about fit on there, so that's quite ideal. Right then. Okay, so now some reference photographs, which you can pause to view for longer. So here we are with the first photograph, which was the main parts of the engine. There's another close look at the injectors, slightly lower angle there, and a bit of a close-up there, showing that spring clip. Now I do think all the injectors are actually programmed to the ECU, so you might want to bear that in mind if ever you need to remove them. Make sure they go back in the same order. So there's our EGR Cooler and the common rail, all accumulator rail for the diesel. There's a high pressure pump there, and our metal pipes going across the top of the engine and down the back. And there's our glow plugs. Okay then, so I've also included a few outtakes for BooBoo. Hi and welcome to this video where I knock everything down. Hi and welcome to this video where I remove the Hi and welcome to this video where I've removed the EGR Cooler. Hi and welcome to this video where I remove the EGR Cooler. So the exhaust gases go in here and out there. They go in there and out there. So you've been watching removing the EGR Cooler and fuel pipes on a 2009 MINI R56. And thank you for watching, and I hope this video helps you service and maintain your car within your budget. This video was filmed and edited by me, Mark Savage, in April 2022, and I can be found on Instagram and Facebook as Coats and Gators.